Hi, everyone. It's another podcast with just me and Anna.
Only this time you're going to be the interviewer asking questions, and I've got to be the one in the hot seat answering the questions.
Yes, so many questions. Mwah.
What are we drinking?
So, I have got my branded mug, but also because I was ready for my tea before, like about half an hour before we were scheduled to start, I did make a teapot to bring with me because I would run out before I get started. Hello, I've ran out.
I'm very impressed. I have my cup of coffee, and it is in an insulated cup to try and keep my coffee hot. But I have almost finished it already. Obviously didn't keep it hot enough, but so a nice cup of strong black coffee. That's me for the morning. And so now I'm all ready to chat.
That's you. You're caffeined up and ready to go.
Yeah.
So for the next few episodes of Conversations and Cuppas, we are focusing on the brand new Our House series.
Yeah, exciting.
Anna is the instigator of all of the Our House series. So, Anna, why don't you give us a little bit of the background as to why you started us on this journey, where we've been and where we're going?
Well, my starting point was I thought it would actually be quite fun to create a book series based around a single house. And I got the idea from, I was reading a BBC history magazine, and they were showcasing one of their TV shows that was basically uncovering the history of a house by kind of peeling back like the layers of wallpaper and who had lived there. And then they'd do the research into what that room had been for and so on and so on. And I thought, that would make such an amazing book series to kind of like take an old house that's being renovated, and then you kind of go back through the layers and then who inhabited the house at that particular time. So that was kind of where I started out. And I have to say that is still in the back of my mind to do that one day. But then I started thinking, actually, it'll be so much more fun to take a house and different people write about the different layers of the house's existence. But then I kind of thought, that's going to get a bit complicated because now you've got to have sort of different authors, but the same actual house. So then I came up with the idea, why not all of the authors take a different house, but in the same street? So there's still kind of geographical proximity. There's still a time factor where you're kind of all interacting and interrelated, but actually the stories can be fully standalone. So that was kind of where it started from. And then when I was a kid, one of my favorite bands was Madness. And their song, Our House in the Middle of Our Street, was just like, was the, I don't know if you remember it, but it was the soundtrack for a kids' TV show about a foster home. I don't know if you ever saw that. And so it was like, I was like, oh, Our House, that's what it can be. So that was kind of like where it originated from, was to say, well, okay, let's each author take Our House in the middle of a street. So the first one we had 14 authors, I think, or 14 authors, I think. And the stories there were set on the Suffolk coast of England. And we had a cozy little village called Eden Cove. It was set by the ocean, and we had a little river, and there was a lighthouse. And so all these different authors from around the world. We had a few in Australia, a couple here in South Africa. There's a few more in the UK and a few in the States. So there was several others, and we all came together and took a house in this street in Eden Cove, and the name of the street was Sycamore Street. And the reason for the sycamore was just, when you read in the Bible, there's lots of instances of a sycamore, and it's like a sycamore fig was a symbol of blessing. It's where Zacchaeus climbed up to see Jesus. And so there's like a real life picture to do with the sycamore. So we thought, let's call it Sycamore Street, and we'll have a sycamore. And so that was where the whole series and the idea started from. And it was absolutely amazing. That first series, I think readers just really enjoyed the concept. I think the nice thing was some of the authors in the group were well known, and so they already had a really good and strong readership, whereas others were much newer, and so maybe didn't have as many that kind of were going to pick up their book. But by sharing our readership, it was amazing, because then it's like people who maybe like a book written by you suddenly discover my books. And then the people who've read my books read your books. And so that was kind of the, if you like, the behind the scenes motivation for it as well. It was just to introduce authors to different readers and readers to different authors. And so, yeah, that was basically where it got started. And the readers, as I say, they just loved the concept. You know, we worked quite well together as a group and just connecting our characters with one another. So my character would maybe pop in and visit your character or bump into each other in the shops and so it actually became quite a genuine community. And so I was going to leave it there, as you do.
Mhm.
Once and I'm done.
Yeah.
As it is fun and work.
Yeah.
The person who started it all.
Yeah. And it's like, how many times do we say that about projects we do? Nope, just one off. That's it.
Yeah.
And then,
Yes. And then it sort of makes you think, well, actually, and then I don't even know who suggested it. Funnily
I
enough,
think it was
wasn't
Amy
you.
Walsh.
Wasn't it
I think
Amy? Because
it
the thing
was.
is, it was the very lovely Amy Walsh, who we're really hoping she's going to pop onto this podcast at some point
Yes,
and
we
have a
love
chat with
Amy.
everybody. Amy is lovely. She lives in the States, and I was having a bit of a think about, should I do another one? Should I not? And I think Amy had quite recently done a tour of Scotland, a writing tour of Scotland. So she was quite taken with all things Scottish.
Why
And
not?
so, why not indeed? So I was like, gosh, what do I think? And then I chatted to you and it was like, well, you can be the Scottish authority for for this series. And so we headed to Scotland and
Mhm.
it was absolutely brilliant because some of the authors who did the first series, Our House on Sycamore Street, joined us for the next one. Some didn't. Some had other projects on the go, but then we had some new authors come in. So I think that really helped develop the concept, became quite a strong concept because we had some of the same authors involved. But it then made it quite easy for new authors to join in and figure out how does it work? What kind of things are we doing? How do we connect with the Our House on Heather Wynd, which was our Scottish series? We had a couple of authors who were fantastic at creating graphics and things like that. So they went wild on doing little videos and all that sort of thing. But what was also really interesting was the people some of the authors who were involved in the first series decided to continue their character and carry them up to Scotland, which I think was really great. And I think, again, it just encouraged a readership so that then when people read Our House on Heather Wynd and they were introduced to a character, they were then, oh, I want to know more. So they went back to read Our House on Sycamore Street. So I definitely think in terms of finding a successful model, which is like, for myself, I don't choose to write to market. I'd rather write what's in my heart to write. But in terms of finding a successful model, this series has been amazing because it's multi-author. It's also multi-genre. So I don't specify that everyone's got to write romance or everyone's got to write historical so everyone basically writes to their own strengths. And so I think then the stories are they are then heart stories. But what happens is there's this connectivity between, maybe because there's a connectivity and a relationship between the authors, that comes across in the characterizations and in the plots and in the actual sense of community that the stories end up having. It's like our fictional towns end up being like they're real. They're like a real place and everyone pops down to the coffee shop. It's really quite interesting. And so I think if someone wants to kind of think from a more marketing promotional perspective, doing something like this it's a learning curve, but it's really interesting to see the response from readers, and how it's almost like a bit of an evergreen kind of a project, because I think as a new book comes out, readers do want to find out, well, what's the background? So then they go back to the previous series. I mean, I know some of the authors have said that their books are like, they're still selling. It's like their top bookseller. And obviously we don't do these things purely to say that this is our top bookseller. But at the same time, it's like, it is very satisfying to be able to say, wow, that one really sold.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely find that my book, The Mother's Song from Our House on Sycamore Street, is definitely one that whenever I go in to check my Amazon dashboard, I'm like, somebody else has downloaded it, or I can see the
Mm.
page reads are ticking over. So yeah, that is definitely very encouraging. And also was, I think for many of us, a huge part of being like, yeah, we're totally up for doing another series because we see like just the
Yeah.
results that comes in, and it's nice having that connection with other authors. I mean, we set up our own individual little groupings of people that we're friends with and discovering the writing community because it's lovely to have people who
Yeah.
understand what's happening. But this is a different kind of grouping because we're all based in the one street, and it's quite exciting being part of that as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's right. And I think, we then, when we've done then, we then did the Scotland one. And again, it was sort of, I think I'm done. But, and again, I don't really know who suggested it. Clearly, I just go along with whatever people tell me to do. And then I just say yes. And this is how things happen. But anyway, this year, I'm so excited because this year we're coming to South Africa. And, it's so exciting because there are a lot of really fantastic Christian authors and just authors in South Africa, but we just don't have access to the market in the same way that
Yeah.
I think particularly American writers, but then also even in the UK, people just don't really know about us. So I think Australian writers maybe feel similarly that there's kind of you're on the bottom of the world and people don't really know. They don't really know your context. They don't necessarily understand what the market looks like here and that sort of thing. And so to be able to come to South Africa, which is wonderful. We've got quite a few South African authors in this group, several who've been part of the other two Our Houses, but we've got one or two who are brand new to the Our House community, which is really, really exciting. And it's just a way to be able for readers to discover that there are these authors based in South Africa who are, they're creating stories, but the context of their stories can be quite different because we've got quite a few. I mean, Ashley Winter, who we've interviewed before, but I think we probably will again because she's part of Our House. Ashley writes entirely South Africa-based stories, and I think when you don't have almost like hooks to hang that on, then it's almost like, well, I don't really want to read a South African story because I don't know anything about South Africa, and so I think by us being able to do this, but then with an international group of authors, it's been really, really fun to be able to introduce South African ideas and concepts and realities and just kind of what it's actually like to live here and so on to people who, I mean, again, we've got an author from Australia. We've got 2 or 3 in the States. We've got several here in South Africa. We've got a few in the UK. And I think, yay! I think you're the only one in the UK now. Now that Claire's
Well,
moved. Oh,
Ashley,
there's Ashley, but she's South African. So, but yeah, I think just being able to introduce people to South Africa in a way which is it's quite real and it's quite grounded, but it is fictional. And so it's like it is a bit of fun and it doesn't don't think any of the stories delve too deeply into kind of where things are at politically here or where things are at with other social issues and things like that. People are writing like great stories, but it's just lovely to be able to showcase like some of the food or some of the language, some of the locations and that sort of thing. And so being able to come to South Africa with Our House on Jakaranda Laan, which you will hear that pronounced far better wherever you have a whole load of actual South Africans, because I may have lived here for a long time, but I still don't speak Afrikaans. So people think I sound very English when I talk to people here. And then my English friends say I sound very South African. So, so I'm a bit of both. And again, our stories are always, after the Sycamore Street, we kind of developed around the idea of plants and trees and things. So heather wind was the Scottish heather. And heather's very much associated with blessing, actually, concept. The jacaranda, which is the English pronunciation of jacaranda, if no one's ever seen a jacaranda tree, they are the most beautiful purple flowered trees that blossom around about October, November, which is around the time that the school kids here are writing their main exams. And so they're the exam tree. You always know when it's exam season because the jacarandas are out in flower and it's like, oh, it's jacaranda time. And one of the we have three capital cities. One of the capital cities, Pretoria, is known as Jacaranda City, and they take photos from kind of up on one of the hilltops at the October, November time of year, and the whole city is just purple. It's like, it's
Wow.
amazing. So definitely when we chat to Vida, who I'm sure we will be chatting to Vida, every year Vida and a friend of hers go on a jacaranda hunt around Johannesburg and Pretoria, and they go and find all these streets that have just got these beautiful purple trees, and then the flowers kind of settle on the ground and almost look like purple snow. It's such an iconic tree. It doesn't normally grow in the area where we've set the series. We've set our series on the Garden Routes, which is up the coast from Cape Town, to give people a rough idea of where the stories are set. It's not an area known for jacarandas, but there's a really special little introduction to how the jacaranda reached our town of Cedarfontein when we chat to Denise Darling from Australia. She has the oldest historical book in the series, and her story is fantastic because it like sets the
Yeah.
scene for
So good.
why we've got jacarandas and why it's called Cedarfontein. And so I'm kind of hoping that all of these authors are going to chat with us both at a later
Yes.
stage.
Denise definitely is, so that'll be a treat.
Yeah. So so the jacaranda, that was the tree that we chose this time. And our town, as I say, is called Cedarfontein. So we decided to go kind of with the Afrikaans kind of names and spellings, just because that particular area is very Afrikaans. You know, it's not an overly English area. And so we thought we would go the Afrikaans thing, but people don't have to have Afrikaans characters. And I think this is the really great thing, because what's ended up happening is people have brought their characters from America or from the UK and have brought them to our little town of Cedarfontein, which is very much what the authors have done. You know, it's like the authors have come from other places and have transplanted their ideas into this new context. And so it's quite interesting just to see how that's going to play out, and how each of the authors manages to pick up a flavor of South Africa, whether they've been here before or not, or whether they've connected with the South African authors much, or, you know, I think it's going to be a really fun series. I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Oh, yeah. So, in terms of books set in South Africa, you have other books, funnily enough, set in South Africa. So, do you want to say just quickly what books you already have that are set there?
Yeah, I will. So the one coming out, my Our House story, is coming out this week, Friday. So that's the 7th of August, which by the time you're listening to this, it may well already be out in the universe, which would be exciting. And it is available up on Amazon as an ebook and a paperback. My book is called The Mask's Shadow, and it can be read as a standalone, but it does also bring to a conclusion some of the stories that I began in Our House on Sycamore Street and Our House on Hitherwind. And there's a little cameo by Agatha Christie. She appears because she really did come to South Africa. She didn't come to Cedarfontein, but she did come to South Africa. There's a little cameo with Agatha Christie. So that's my third book set in South Africa, I think. I have a short novella, which is I don't normally write romance, but this was a Prairie Rose with a South African twist, sort of a romance, like a wagon trail story. And the friend who asked me to join that one, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about wagon trails because those are all based in America. And then I suddenly thought, oh, no, but I do, because there's the Great Trek, which took place here in South Africa with the Afrikaner people. The Boers left Cape Town and travelled across Africa. And so I thought, oh, I could tell a story around that. So that's my contribution to the wagon trail romances, is a little flavour of South Africa. And then I wrote a full-length novel about the Anglo-Boer War, the link with the Anglo-Boer War and the Battle of Spienkop and Liverpool Football Club and Anfield Stadium. And so those two books, the Wagon Trail one is called Maria, and the other one is called Remembered Lives. So I do like setting books here in South Africa, and I think that probably I would do more now that we've done the Our House, actually, because then people are a bit more aware of, you know, kind of where we are and what we do. And yeah, so I think it's great to be able to, as I say, kind of showcase a little bit of South Africa and the South African authors and so on.
Yeah. So have you had any strange questions about life in South Africa from any other authors? Not naming any names. Not me. Has there
Yeah.
been any questions that made you laugh?
Yeah, let me think what some of our questions have been. We have had some which have been, most of them, funnily enough, have actually been about the food.
Yeah.
Like what do people eat? And is this something that people would have heard of? Or what is a food item that people would get from a takeaway? What would people buy at a restaurant and that sort of thing, which is really quite interesting because it's like, wow, you don't realize how much food plays a part in our lives and how much we know our own local foods, but we don't know what other people around the world eat. So it's like, I think that's really quite interesting, which is
Yeah.
also why it's great that Christine, one of the authors, decided for us to put together a recipe book from our different stories, which is brilliant. So there's some South African recipes in there. We'll pop the link for the
Yeah.
recipe book so people can download that. There have also been a few which were like, what is the kind of church history like here? What are the different kind of church background? A few questions on what kind of communities would coexist and that sort of thing. So it has been interesting just to see what sort of things people already know about and what actually they want to delve a bit deeper. Thankfully, nobody has asked whether we have lions walking the streets. So that's great.
That was your big
You
fear.
thought there would be a lion in the Cedar Fontaine, which I'm really pleased about. I think there were other questions about what animals would there be. And a few of us were saying, there might be monkeys and baboons and things like that. But it was great not to be asked whether there were lions roaming the streets.
I have to say, because obviously when we did our house on Heather Wynd, I was the Scottish expert.
Yes.
But it's really hard because there's a lot of things that you're like, I didn't realize that was a Scottish thing. I
Yeah.
thought everyone did it because it's just
Yeah.
normal. And so
Yeah.
it's quite hard actually when people ask you very open questions
Yeah.
to know how to answer because you don't know if your thing is just a cultural thing or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
assume
I
everyone
think
does
one
it.
of the things was a lot of the authors characters attending the local schools. And I think one of the things that was quite interesting is that here in South Africa, we have a lot of separate boys and girls schools. And it's not just the kind of fee paying expensive schools that are boys and girls schools. It's like, it's the free government schools. Well, free-ish, but so it's the government schools that would be separate, boys and girls. And I think living here, you just take that for granted that that's a very normal way of doing school. And it's quite interesting that then when a few of the South Africans have mentioned and said, oh, no, but it would have been a boys' school, or that's quite an unusual concept for a lot of
We're like,
people.
what?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very
Whereas,
old-fashioned thing here. Like, that was something that was like a long time ago.
yeah, that's right. Whereas it's like, funnily enough, it's more the fee-paying schools or the private schools, which are the mixed schools. And the traditionally government schools are the single-sex schools. So I think that was one, as you say, which is one of those ones where you don't actually realize how different it is without having those kind of conversations. So yeah, it is quite interesting.
So, how many books have we got coming out on Jakaranda Laan?
15, which is really
Wow.
great. We've got Vida is doing 2, which is fantastic. She's chosen to write 2 this
And
year.
she's doing it back to back, isn't she?
She is, yeah.
Wow.
So she's got, yes. So her one releases in, her first
I
one
think it's
releases
end
in
of
May,
August and beginning of September.
Yeah, I think so. And then the second one releases the week after. So I think Vida's probably working very hard right now.
Yeah.
So she won't be chatting to us until everything's finished, I think.
No.
And then we've got all the way through to, I think, maybe the first week in November. I think the last one releases. And then what we're hoping to do is have a nice big Thanksgiving, Christmas kind of a party towards the end of the year. Yay! For all of the Our House authors, past and present. We'd like to try and host something for everybody. That's kind of our plan. So look out for an Our House Christmas party, which I think would be very, very fun. That would be great. There might even be a couple of little extra stories thrown into the mix, especially for Christmas, which would be very fun. So yeah, that's where we're at. So between now, this week Friday, and the end of October, beginning of November, there is a brand new Our House story coming to Amazon every single week. And the lovely thing is all of the books are novellas, so they can be read over a weekend. So people can get their book on the Friday, they can read it, they can digest it over the week, and then there's another book out the following Friday.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's so great.
So exciting. So, as we said by now, Anna's book, The Mask's Shadow, is out on Amazon. So if you don't already have your copy, pop on over to Amazon and get it. The link is in this comment section or wherever it turns up in these places.
Yeah.
And yeah, treat yourself to a totally fabulous read set in South Africa.
Yeah. Great. Lovely, lovely. We'll look forward to chatting to everybody, all the other authors soon.
Yes, exactly. Okay, bye everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we can't wait to chat with you again soon. So get your cuppas ready and come and join us.